ancient Greek philosophers thought that fire was one of the five elements of the nature, the other four being earth, water, air, and ether. But for now, is fire an element? Then what is it made up of? Why is it so hot? When does it stop after a start? Let us learn about it now. As modern scientists closely investigate these factors related to fire, we get some pretty awesome things to know. Wait, what are these glowing particles? Wow, first things first, fire cannot happen without these: air, fuel and some heat to make a fire triangle. And we might have learnt about this in our chemistry classes, how fire works. But just a simple chemical equation doesn't explain everything what really happens in the process. We know that hot things glow because of the black body radiation. When they give off visible light, we can see them with our eyes. For instance, let's have a look at this candle. It has different colors due to the varying temperature levels. The flame looks simple, but inside it contains thousands of chemical reactions going on. The oxygen present in the air and carbon and hydrogen present in this fuel, as we can see here, don't do anything with a bone, but it takes some outside heat to get things started. By this heat, the solid fuel vaporizes and gets ripped into smaller chunks. This is called pyrolysis, and we cannot have fire without it. The hot oxygen present in the air slams the hydrocarbons and their atoms becomes to rearrange, forming water and carbon dioxide. Sometimes the electrons present in their atoms gets into their higher levels, and when they come back, they give off light. That's why we see that the bottom of the flame glowing blue. Not all the carbon atoms present in the combustion gets converted into CO2, so the leftover carbon atoms come together and form tiny particles of soot, which heats up and glow orange and yellowish. This is where most of the flames light come from, the glowing soot. We can investigate ourselves by holding a cold piece of metal over the flame. In the yellow part, we get the dark soot. Look how dark it is. And just above the wick, we can easily recover the unburned wax. And above the flame, we can condense the water vapors. Eventually, the fire produces carbon dioxide, water, light and heat. And this heat is just right enough to vaporize the fuel again and again and to make the process go on. This is a chain reaction. The hydrocarbons and oxygen react, and thus it becomes a self-sustaining fire. And this process continues until the supply of fuel remains, or the supply of oxygen. As we discussed earlier about the sides of this fire triangle, every side is required. Fire is scary cool. In 1969, NASA's Apollo 11 launched the Saturn V rocket to the moon. Let us go there and find out where they landed. It was a good flight, and this is Tranquility Base, the place where Commander Neil Armstrong, Lunar Module pilot Edwin Aldrin landed on 28 July 1969, 201804 Universal Coordinated Time, and Sir Michael Collins, the commander of the service module, orbited around the moon 30 times alone. While Neil and Edwin doing their work here, the whole world was thrilled for this astonishing moment when Neil Armstrong puts his first step on the surface of the moon.
I'm going to step off the limb. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Download the application Space Agency from the Google Play Store, an enthusiastic game which drags your space knowledge up to the edge of the universe, where you can build your own rockets, you can add your payloads, launch the rocket from the space station, orbital maneuvering around the Earth, and also we can fly to the moon. And while returning back, we will get the knowledge how actually astronauts splash down into the ocean of the Earth. Advanced technologies and better scientific research has allowed us to communicate through the entire world more easily. In the near future, we're going to use holographic communication. Perhaps all it would need is just some space.
Hello Mahesh, I am Google. What can I do for you?
Oh, nothing dear, you just take best. Let's go back in time. In 1991, when the first website was launched, till now there are over a billion of websites. When we type for the total number of websites present on the Internet Live Stats gives us the precise number of active websites, which are over 1.087 billion websites online right now. These number of websites can be searched through Baidu, Yahoo, Google, and any of the search engines. But wait, what is Google? The word Google comes from the word Google, a mathematical number which is 1 followed by 100 zeros. We know that 1,000 has 3 zeros, a million has 6 and a billion has 9 and so on. A Google has 100 zeros. That's it, simple, a piece of cake. But wait, it's a piece of difficult cake. Because it isn't that much simple as we thought. Have a look at this. If we count 1, 2, 3, 4, second after second, it would take 12 days to count down a million. And to count down a billion, it would take 32 years, not days. No, that's the difference. If those 3 additional zeros cause that much amount of huge difference, then think about the total number of zeros present in a Google. They grow up exponentially. The total number of atoms present in a human body are about 7 octillion numbers, and the total number of atoms present in our observable universe are about 10 to the power of 80. If we fill the whole observable universe in single dimensions with the objects like clusters, galaxies, stars, the length of the light year, our own sun, earth, moon, Halley's comet, Eiffel Tower, blue whale, human beings, chicken egg, chromosomes, DNA, atoms, neutrons, electrons, protons, quarks, neutrinos, and the smallest length known till the date, the Planck length. By the development of quantum physics, the ratio would be still 10 to the power 62. We haven't beaten Google yet. Then what is the significance of Googleplex? 10 to the power 10 to the power 100. Oh god, this number blows our mind. It's even difficult for our brain to comprehend the value of that number. Even if we try to write down the number 100000000, it's simply the waste of time. We cannot end it up. We cannot end it up in our lifetime. Because a typical book of 100 pages can be filled with 10 lakh number of zeros in it. If in some other way you completely write down a Googleplex, you would need 10 to the power 94 such books to completely write down a Googleplex. If such a book weighs about 200 grams, as we have scaled here, then they all combined together would weigh 2 times the 10 to the power 93 kg. In comparison, the Earth's mass is just about Oh man, you do it in 30 seconds. Let me try it then. Wait. Anamorphic illusions. National Geographic's answer book describes the hand surveillance anamorphic illusions, in which a skewed 2-dimensional image becomes 3-dimensional, and also the sizes. If you consider this gymnastic ball as the size of the sun, then what do you think would be the size of the earth?
क्यों बेटे मन में लड्डू फूटा
Let's first talk about Jupiter. If this is Jupiter, then the size of the Earth would be? So we can fill about 1300 Earths inside a Jupiter. Jupiter is a huge gas giant that a person weighing 70 kg on Earth would actually weigh 170 kg on Jupiter. Then what about the Sun? If this round big yellow ball is Sun, then we are here. Oh god, a tiny frog in front of a giant elephant. 1,301,698 Earths can fit inside the Sun. Earth is literally very small when compared to the size of the Sun. Then what about Earths? The total human population of the Earth today is 735 crores. If we throw every single person on earth alive today to a particular place to make a heap, we could not build a city block. We could make a pile of this much big, and that's it. That's all of us, all 735 crores of us in one place. And that heap, what we saw, is a contribution of about 7.33% of Earth by mass. And now let's go to see how Earth rotates. We here on the surface of the Earth not only spin along with the Earth, but we also revolve around the Sun on a plane tilted 23.4 degrees relative to our spin. But in this perspective, we could see that the Sun rising and setting is just because of the Earth pointing us towards and away from the Sun. We see the Sun at zenith in the midday, and at the midnight we see it at nadir. This strategic calculation has made us to experience different seasons. We don't know who has programmed all this. This beautiful colorful planet started revolving around the Sun some 4.503 billion years ago and started giving shelter to us, human beings, 400,000 years ago, and it is doing its work continuously. Then who are we? We haven't met any alien yet. Does this suggest we are alone in this universe? We have everything with us. We have hands to walk, we have eyes to see, and we have brain to think about itself. And we have work to do to stuff this little stomach. What is the significance of intelligence? Firstly, what is the purpose of life on this earth? What is the mystery behind all this? People say that God created it. Then who is God? Who created God? Who has done all those things? Of course we don't know the answer, and we're hoping in anticipation that we might know it in future. Until then, we're just a guest in this lovely home. Nothing is permanent in this life, not even time. Everything vanishes. Until then, let's love this creation. Why this brutality, provocation, violence? Let's live in peace. And as always, thanks for watching.